Shaka Zulu's story begins not with glory, but with rejection. He was born around 1787, the illegitimate son of Sanzangakona, chief of the small Zulu clan, and Nandi, a proud woman from the Langeni people. Their union violated custom, and when Nandi became pregnant, both she and her unborn child were cast out. They were forced to live on the margins of society, surviving off scraps and favors. In those early years, the boy who would one day command nations was treated like dirt beneath the feet of others. He watched his mother suffer humiliation after humiliation, taunted by villagers and ridiculed for her sin, and Shaka, too young to fight back, learned something vile that pain, when harnessed, could become power. The cruelty of others hardened him. Every insult became a brick in the fortress he was building inside himself. As he grew, that inner fire only intensified. He learned endurance from necessity, running barefoot through thorny brush to fetch water or chase livestock. He fought with other boys, not for sport, but for survival. He grew tall, lean, and unrelenting, his mind sharp and calculating even then. Nandi instilled in him a fierce belief in destiny. She told him he was meant for greatness, that the spirits of the ancestors had chosen him. To a child cast aside, those words became a lifeline. They gave him purpose when the world gave him nothing else. Shaka would later say that strength is born from suffering, and no one knew suffering better than he did. When Shaka reached manhood, he joined the army of the Iklwa, one of the most powerful chiefdoms in the region, ruled by the visionary leader Dingiswayo. It was here that Shaka found both discipline and opportunity. Under Dingiswayo, he learned how leadership could inspire loyalty instead of fear, how structure could create power out of chaos. Shaka rose quickly through the ranks, proving himself as a fearless warrior and an innovative strategist. He studied how other tribes fought, how they threw long, then spears from a distance and retreated quickly. To him, it was inefficient, indecisive. Battles dragged on for hours and resolved little. Shaka wanted something different. He introduced the iklwa, a short, heavy stabbing spear designed for close-range combat. It required immense courage, demanding that warriors close the gap and fight face-to-face. It was faster, deadlier, and more personal. He paired it with large cowhide shields that could deflect blows or hook an opponent's weapon aside. With this change alone, he revolutionized African warfare. But his genius didn't stop there. Shaka restructured the entire military system. He organized regiments called Amabutha by age and region and stationed them in military kraals where they trained daily. They learned to march silently, to move in formation, to obey instantly. He demanded endurance, making his soldiers run barefoot over rough terrain to toughen their feet. Warriors who faltered were punished. Those who excelled were rewarded with honor, cattle, and the right to marry after proven service. Shaka transformed a culture of independent fighters into a national army, professional and disciplined. His men didn't just fight for themselves, they fought for the idea of Zulu unity. When Dingiswayo was killed and the Mthethwa Confederation fragmented, Shaka saw his moment. Backed by loyal regiments, he seized control of the Zulu clan, eliminating rivals including some of his own kin and consolidating power. From that point forward, he ruled with unmatched vision and ferocity. His dream was not to lead a tribe, but to build a nation. Through diplomacy, intimidation, and war, he absorbed neighboring groups one after another. Some joined willingly, recognizing the stability and protection he offered. Others resisted and were destroyed. Survivors were integrated into the Zulu system, their young men drafted into regiments, their women and children given new homes within the expanding kingdom. The Zulu population exploded, and so did Shaka's influence. His military tactics evolved into works of art. The buffalo horns formation became his signature strategy. The center, or chest, engaged the enemy head-on while the horns flanked from both sides, encircling and trapping the opposing force. A reserve unit, called the loins, waited behind a strike at the decisive moment. This tactic created chaos for enemies accustomed to looser formations. Shaka also used terrain to his advantage, drawing enemies into narrow valleys or high grass where visibility was limited. His warriors struck like lightning, then vanished before reinforcements could respond. No rival force could match his speed, coordination, or sheer psychological intensity. But Shaka's brilliance went beyond the battlefield. He imposed a new sense of national identity among his people. Before his reign, Southern Africa was a patchwork of small chiefdoms bound by kinship and tradition. Shaka broke those boundaries and replaced them with a collective sense of Zulu, a unified people under one banner. He centralized authority, appointed regional governors called Izaduna, and instituted systems of taxation and tribute. He built a network of messengers to carry news and orders across the empire, creating one of the most efficient communication systems in pre-colonial Africa. He standardized ceremonies, greetings, and even the appearance of his warriors, reinforcing unity through ritual and symbolism. He wasn't just expanding territory, he was engineering a nation from the ground up. Yet the same intensity that built his empire also consumed him. Power made Shaka cautious, and caution turned into paranoia. His demands grew harsher. Executions became more frequent. He trusted almost no one. And then, in 1827, tragedy struck. His mother Nani, the woman who had endured exile beside him and believed in his destiny long before anyone else, fell ill and died. Her death shattered him completely. Grief twisted into madness. He ordered an empire-wide mourning period so extreme it nearly destroyed the economy. No crops were to be planted. No milk was to be drunk. Pregnancies were forbidden for a year. Those who disobeyed or mourned without enough passion were executed. Thousands died, either by his decree or by starvation. The kingdom that had once admired its king now began to fear him. Whispers of rebellion spread through his court. Even his most loyal generals began to wonder if Shaka had lost his reason. His half-brothers, Dingain and Mhalangana, plotted in secret. They knew that as long as Shaka lived, no one was safe. In 1828, with the help of one of his closest attendants, Bofa, they struck. Shaka was ambushed near his kraal at Dukuza and stabbed to death. His body was buried in an unmarked grave, the location lost to history. The man who had built an empire through discipline and terror was gone killed by his own blood. After his death, Dingain took the throne, and while he softened some of Shaka's harsher policies, the system Shaka built remained intact. His military regiments continued to function with precision. His administrative network survived. His influence extended far beyond his lifetime. Decades later, when the British invaded Zululand, they faced warriors still organized in the style Shaka had created. The famous Zulu victory at Isandlwana in 1879, where British troops were overrun, was the ultimate echo of his genius. Long after his death, Shaka's fingerprints were still on every spear, every shield, every strategy. Today, Shaka Zulu is remembered as one of Africa's most complex and transformative leaders. To some, he is a hero, a visionary who unified his people and demonstrated the potential of African statecraft long before European colonization. To others, he is a tyrant whose cruelty and obsession with power brought suffering to countless lives. Both are true. He was capable of immense creativity and unimaginable violence. He built a nation that stood proudly against the encroaching world and ruled it with the fist of a man who had known too much pain to ever let his guard down. More than centuries later, Shaka's legacy endures. His name graces cities, schools, and monuments. His life continues to be studied by historians, filmmakers, and military scholars around the world. His tactics are still taught in war colleges. His empire stands as a testament to what vision and willpower can accomplish even when the world begins in opposition. He took the pain of rejection and turned it into empire. He made fear his ally and discipline his religion. Shaka Zulu was not born to rule, he built himself into a ruler. His life reminds us that greatness is rarely gentle, and power, once forged, is never free. He remains the eternal paradox, the warrior who united a people, the leader who destroyed to create, the man who transformed shame into sovereignty. The story of Shaka Zulu is not just African history, it is human history. The story of how one person, armed with vision and fury, can reshape the fate of millions.